2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Welcome on, Rip Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Anthony Witrado. Anthony, finally, we are here to celebrate a Dodgers victory. 9-5, the Dodgers win. I joked with you. I had 5 straight L's heading into tonight, so nice to get that one off my back, and a nice little win here for the Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, that run for you is over. That's a very positive thing. It feels like our run on Friday nights hasn't been great either, just in general. We've had some good ones, but yeah, we've had some disappointments too. Tonight was a pretty good one. I thought some solid performances from some of the stars. However, it got a little kind of mucked up, but it's good to get the W at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Look, as Dodgers fans, there will be no complaining allowed about how the Dodgers won because they won. And they mentioned at one point on the broadcast that the divisional lead was down to 2. It is fortunately back up to 2.5. But, this was a must win for the Dodgers in a lot of ways, with Paul Skeens on the mound tomorrow, arguably the best pitcher in the National League, the guy that you don't want to face. And so, again, the Dodgers come out and score 9 runs. We'll get into the offense. Freeman, Kike, Ohtani, all with home runs. Jack Flaherty, kind of a mixed bag performance, I would say, but another solid performance from the Dodgers bullpen to sort of shut this thing down. So as always, we want to say thank you to the folks joining us live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. We greatly appreciate you. We also want to say thank you to our sponsor, So Rare MLB. They've been a huge supporter of what we are doing, and we appreciate them. They've got a fun little game over at So Rare MLB. So click the link in our description. It is a fantasy baseball style game. Draft your team, compete against other people for prizes, whether it's cards, whether it's cash, whether it's collectible cards that can be sold for real money. Whatever you're into, you can do that on So Rare MLB. So again, click the link in the description. Nice little night for me, Anthony. Ohtani going yard helps my team. I keep telling people Ohtani's the best value in this game. And although Schwarber, I had Schwarber last week, and I'll be honest, he pretty much carried me to a top 100 finish out of like 1,500 people. So shout out to Kyle Schwarber. Unfortunately, it came against the Dodgers. But again, So Rare MLB, thank you for being our sponsor, and click the link in the description. All right, let's get into this one, Anthony. Let's start with the offense. 9 runs on 8 hits, 4 walks. The headline here, though, Freddie Freeman, 17th home run. Kike Hernandez, 7th home run off the glove of Brian Reynolds. A little bit of an assist. Excuse me. And Ohtani, 35th home run, 450-foot, no doubter that looked like a driving range ball off a tee. So the Dodgers offense, which has been sputtering, 7 of 9 guys get a hit today. 8 of the 9 reach at some point. Overall, a pretty solid day for a Dodgers offense that kind of needed to put up a big number.
Yeah, it was good for them to get going in this series that way. Like you said, especially with Skeens on the mound tomorrow. Kind of a disappointing series against the Phillies, I thought, after winning that first game. So it was nice for them to sort of, storm into this one and kind of do what they did. That ball that Ohtani hit was just,
oh my gosh,
absolutely demolished. We talked about that ball that he hit over the right field pavilion, basically, and how you don't really see many balls land there. You don't see many balls land in center field where he hit that one.
No,
I mean, that cleared that black tarp. That was incredible. And I love that he kind of stood there and admired it. I think he wanted to see where it was going to land too. During the day, obviously the ball carries differently at Dodger Stadium. And I know in BP, sometimes they'll get into it where guys will try to see how far into center field they can land the ball. Not many guys landed where he hit that ball tonight. I mean, that was absolutely crushed. So nice to see, and it was nice because they had put up that graphic about, being like 2 for 48 or something like that with 2 strikes over the last however many days. Yeah. So nice to have him do that with 2 strikes on him. But yeah, I think overall it was nice. Maybe that little excuse me single for Will Smith. Yeah. Maybe it changes his outlook on life and he can get going here. A lot of positives for the offense. Teo still just, him and Freddie really doing it. So really positive on that note. You just hope they didn't use all the bullets tonight.
Come on, positivity only tonight, Anthony. All right, this is the start of something. 12 runs off of Skeens tomorrow. But in all seriousness, I mean, it is worth pointing out Mitch Keller, 4 innings, 7 hits, 7 runs, 2 walks for him. They said on the broadcast he hadn't given up 2 runs since the beginning of July. So we're talking about a guy that's on a month-and-a-half stretch of being incredible. He gives up 7 earned to the Dodgers. Impressive stuff. You mentioned that third inning after Freddie Freeman kind of gets things going in the first with the home run. It was the third where things got busted open. It was the Ohtani tee shot, just a breaking ball that hangs at the bottom of the zone that, I mean, literally golfs to dead center. You mentioned Ohtani doesn't move. The center fielder doesn't move. That ball's halfway into the pavilion, or excuse me, into the gap between the pavilions there. And then Will Smith, I mean, it seems like a silly moment in this game. There's 2 runners on. Will Smith checks his swing and drops a bloop into right field. It ends up being a 2-run single on that one. He finishes the night with 2 runs, 2 RBIs, a hit, and a walk. Is it just nonsense when we say, hey, maybe this is going to get a guy going? Or do you think there's actually something to kind of the relief and the mental belief that, like, hey, something went my way. The world is not out to get me. The world is not stacked against me. And that's something that can sort of propel him forward.
That's the kind of thing where you say at some point when a guy hits 110 mile an hour liner into somebody's glove, hey, things will even out. That's one of those. Yeah. Because he's had a whole bunch of hard outs this season. Yeah. And with him kind of, he's skidding a little bit right now. That's got to feel good to see it fall. I think the walk might have been the better at bat. Okay. In terms of like maybe starting to see some things, maybe not fully turn the corner, but sort of shift a little bit. Sometimes it's a walk like that where you're starting to see the ball better. You're recognizing pitches out of the zone, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think that walk and then the fact that single falls in and drives in too, it may be just more of a mindset change than anything. Instead of that ball being, a little pop that's caught by the first baseman, it falls, good things happen. The vibes are good around him personally. Yeah. And, confidence starts to get restored. It's a long season. These guys go through these skids and sometimes it feels like they're never going to get out of them. They'll talk to you about that. And they got to see something like this, or they got to have a game where they take a really good walk in their mind. Man, that was a good walk. You know what I mean? Like there are those kinds of things that happen. We'll see, but sure. Yeah. It's not silly to say like, oh, that check swing single or that walk that he drew can change things. It possibly could start to. Yeah.
And again, it's a reminder of the mental game of just how important it is in a game like baseball to simply believe that good things you are capable of good things, right? And even as you read the stories about Gavin Lux and his resurgence, it feels like so much of it is just purely a confidence thing. Yes, he's swinging the bat a little bit harder, but it's the approach, and the approach is fueled by confidence, and confidence at times can be fueled by little moments like this. So we know the numbers. Everybody's seen Will Smith's numbers and his splits as the seasons go on, that this isn't necessarily an anomaly, but we all know that for the Dodgers to get where they need to get to, Will Smith is going to have to play a big part in that. This is a guy that had kind of established himself as maybe closer to the top 3 in the Dodgers lineup than he was to guys like Teoscar Hernandez and Max Muncy. Right. That has changed, but it doesn't mean it's changed forever. It doesn't mean he's isn't capable of going on a run. And so 2 times Will Smith reaches base tonight. One's a fluke, but one's a walk. And you just hope that this is the jumpstart kind of a situation that he needed. Let's talk Jack Flaherty, because he's the other big story tonight, Anthony. 5 2/3 innings for Flaherty, making his first start in Los Angeles as a Dodger. Obviously a big deal given where he grew up. His mom in the crowd was kind of a cool moment, but kind of a mixed bag when you look, because you could say 5 2/3, 10 Ks, bang. Like that's everything you need. You could look at the savant numbers and some of the swing and miss stuff, and 19 whiffs tonight, 34% whiff rate, which is insane. A 33% called strike plus whiff rate. the knuckle curve, he got 15 swings and 9 whiffs on that pitch. That's insane. So that's the good for Flaherty. The bad, a lot of hits given up, 9 hits, 4 earned, 1 walk, 3 of those coming on 1 swing on the home run. So what did you make of Flaherty's performance? Are you maybe more drawn to the 10 strikeouts, 19 whiffs, or are you more drawn to 9 hits and 4 earned?
I think it's both, and I'll say why. The stuff was there. You mentioned it, you talked about it. It was sharp, it was crisp, it was deceiving. I mean, he was dropping that breaking ball. I guess it was the knuckle curve that started like in the lower half of the zone and then would just fall out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know how many strikeouts he got on that location, but he got a good handful of swings and misses on in that zone.
Yeah.
And that was really impressive. Like I said, it looked really, really crisp. Looked like he kind of knew where it was going every time he threw it. On the bad side, you can say, look, it was 2 kind of meatballs he left there and they got hit. It was actually more than that. And for all the crispness of some of those pitches, he went through stretches tonight in a few different innings, I thought, where the precision and the command sort of got away from him.
Yeah.
If it wasn't like Bart who hit that home run, there was 2 or 3 other guys who had ample opportunities to put one into the seats on him, because I think I think that fastball, especially that command there, kind of got away from him a little bit, and he was leaving balls sort of middle, and guys were fouling him off or whatever. And I was a loner tonight, so I watched the game by myself, so I had nobody to say this to. But I thought it, and if he keeps doing that, someone's going to hit one out.
Yeah.
And this was after that first solo home run, which was just a laser beam. But sure enough, he puts one there to Bart, and Bart's been fairly hot for the Pirates.
Yeah.
And he deposited that thing. I mean, there was no doubt about that one either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. A little bit of a mixed bag. He looked really good at times. And then there's some stuff there to clean up for sure.
Yeah, looking at on Savant, you can kind of get a look at where these pitches ended up and that kind of a thing. And it's sort of a spray pattern that I'm not going to pretend to look at and be an expert on. But you look at the number of pitches that are just sitting middle, as you pointed out, and you'd love to see these kind of evenly distributed around the fringes of the strike zone. There's a couple knuckle curves that literally could not be more middle. There's about 7 fastballs and a pair of sliders, maybe 3 or 4 sliders that are all right in that nitro zone. And so, again, to your point, I think that's indicative of that tells the story of what we saw, right? That tells the story of a guy who got hit around on one hand, and yet when it wasn't sitting middle, guys had no chance. And so the 10 strikeouts, the swing and miss, that again, to me is the sustainable piece. You saw why this is a guy that was so highly coveted. I mean, and this is why I said I wanted him over any other starting pitcher that was truly available, because I believed he was capable of this. He also threw 110 pitches tonight. The Dodgers in game 1 of 13 in a row that they're about to play. And so you wish he could get through 6, but kind of a gutty performance from him as well to get you through 5 2/3, knowing, River Ryan's going tomorrow, hasn't gone deep into games, and there's no rest for the bullpen coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I thought leaving him in played. I think there were 2 factors going to that. One was trying to preserve the bullpen because, like you said, they got 2 straight weeks of games coming up.
Yeah.
I think the other one was a little more sentimental and trying to get him to finish that. Not so much maybe sending him out there, because I think they just wanted to buy that extra inning, but leaving him in as long as they did, I think was a little like, hey, start at Dodger Stadium, family in the seats. We want you to walk off the mound here where I'm not pulling you.
Yeah.
He didn't get to that. But I think that played a role in it also.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was surprised. But again, I mean, I was surprised in part because they weren't exactly stress-free innings at all times. Like that first inning, he gives up a leadoff double. Yeah. And so, the pitch count may not have been crazy at that point, but that's, however many straight pitches, 10, 12, 15, 18 pitches with a runner in scoring position. But, this is a guy who's been around the league. Like, sure. I don't think 110 pitches in isolation is something that's impossible for a guy like Flaherty to handle.
It was
So,
interesting though, like, like with the reports of like the back
this back to back.
thing and all of that stuff. It was like, you really want to push this guy in August right now? Like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the other piece of this too, which again, I want to make clear and say this up front, so that this doesn't get taken out of context. The Dodgers won. So let's just like focus on the positives here. I did find it interesting in a game that they were winning by so much that Banda, Phillips, and Hudson were the three guys that came into this game. On one hand, I love that the Dodgers say, "Hey, we're not taking any chances." 9-4 in the ninth inning, like put Daniel Hudson out there. On the other hand, like, is this a night that you try and get away with Brent Honeywell and Joe Kelly and Michael Grove and some of those guys in hopes of resting? Option B is, I don't want to say they're admitting defeat, but are they saying, hey, there's a better chance these guys are going to be useful tonight than they are going to be against Paul Skeens tomorrow? I mean, again, it worked. They won, but I just thought it was interesting.
No, it's fair. It's fair. I had no problem with the first two guys. The Hudson one, I was a little more like,
9-4 in the ninth.
Yeah, you try, like, let's just try to get away with this one without using him, especially with with what the bullpen looks like in terms of injuries. But yeah, I think it's also a little bit of like they're at a point where they're like, we're not giving up any of these games that we're supposed to win. Like, we're not in a position to do that anymore.
And that's what I like. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, because on one hand, I like the urgency. When Hudson came in, I was almost arguing with myself on one hand, saying, you know what? I like that they're saying we're not playing around. Like, we're not going to let this get to 9-7 until we go in. At the same time, with 13 games in 13 days, I was kind of like, man, do you use your three guys you probably trust the most? But again,
a lot more understandable, like if they're off on Monday.
Yep, exactly. 13 games in 13 days. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Speaking of the bullpen, by the way, Banda, 4 batters, an inning and a third, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts. Evan Phillips, a perfect inning, 2 strikeouts. Daniel Hudson, 1 hit, 1 walk, run and run, 1 strikeout. We got to find a way, like the runner's indifference or the catcher's indifference, to move the guy over and then score. I hate that for Hudson, because that's a walk and a single. That's not an earned run. It ends up being an earned run given the circumstances. But, the bullpen, Evan Phillips, maybe let's just talk Phillips. Band has been great.
Sure.
Perfect inning, 10 pitches, 8 strikes, 2 strikeouts. It's just like, I could take a little bit of a deep breath, let the shoulders down a little bit with Evan Phillips and say, all right, blip in the radar. Like, are you there? Are you ready to say, hey, that stretch he had, blip in the radar, anomaly, outlier, he's going to be fine? Are you there yet?
I think he's going to be fine, but I still want to see a little more. That I don't think he's going to go back into that valley he was in. Yeah. But I want to see it just a little bit more. I do think he's going to be fine. But I things are going well right now. Like, let's not rock the boat at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, Banda looked great. Phillips looked great. Hudson, I thought all in all, he was fine. 1.91 ERA for Hudson on the year, 2.02 ERA for Banda. When Banda comes in, this is the last thing I'll say. How the hell does Andrew Friedman find these dudes? Like, every year, it's like some dude, and you're watching Banda, you're like, he's a lefty throwing like 97 with a breaking ball that he threw to Brian Reynolds that started out outside and landed on his back foot. Like, where do these guys come? Where do these guys come from? He's been in like 8 organizations. He comes to LA and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, no big deal. High leverage lefty throwing 97. It's crazy.
Yeah. And they've done it with position guys too. Like they don't really have that dude this year, I guess, but pretty consistently they've been able to find that guy for the bench also, or in a platoon situation. I mean, it's the reason Max Muncy and Chris Taylor are on the team, and have become all-stars. So they've done it there too. Look, player development isn't just about guys you draft or sign internationally.
It's a good point.
It's about this kind of stuff too, that like it encompasses all of it. And so when we criticize this organization for like player development and, oh, when's the last time a pitcher besides Bueller has hit, and that, whatever people want to say, or a position player, whatever, that matters too. Part of player development is also that kind of stuff. And you're right, Jeff, like they seem to find somebody nobody was ever talking about or nobody was ever considering. When I say nobody, I mean not not us, like
Yeah.
the 29 other front offices, and they turn him into a high leverage, trustworthy guy. And you're seeing that this year with Banda.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 31-year-old. I saw some people talking about his velocity. It is interesting. You go back to 2020, his fastball was 92.5 miles an hour. Since then, 94.3, 95.2, 95.7, and this year up to 95.9. So there is something to that. I imagine if you looked over the last 30 days, that number is over 96. And so the Dodgers have tapped into something. And, on the other side, Miguel Rojas, Austin Barnes, like I think some of these guys having seasons that they're having, you have to give some credit to the hitting coaches. I know the hitting coaches tend to get crapped on because it's like, when Gavin Lux was slumping, when Will Smith is slumping, it's like, who's doing what? There are some success stories. It's maybe not the places that you'd expect. And that kind of leads into the other big storyline that isn't related to the game that we just watched, but a report coming from the lips of Dave Roberts, or not really a report, an announcement 3 days after saying Mookie Betts would be returning to play shortstop. Dave Roberts says, hey, I know nothing's changed, and I know he's not back yet, but he's actually going to be playing right field. Some quotes I thought that were really interesting. Mookie Betts said, quote, I think it was just kind of a mutual thing. I would say mostly I went to them. I said, listen, I believe I can do it, but I want to win, man. I want to win. I don't know if me right there at shortstop is the best solution. There was some nonsense, Anthony, going on about, well, would Mookie really allow them to put him back in the outfield? Can we put that to rest now? Yeah. Because Mookie's volunteering to play the outfield. He's saying, I want to win. I'm going to do whatever it helps. Dave Roberts basically said, hey, if we're being honest, the plan all along was he was going to play the outfield in the postseason. Like, this has been the right move all along. I've been saying it for like a month and a half. Finally, we've come to our senses and just done the obvious thing staring right in front of us.
I mean, yes. Again, we're getting very lucky with some of the people who are on this team right now that are allowing this move to happen. The entire reason that he was there in the first place was because you, me, no one in this chat, no one in our crew believed that a player like Miguel Rojas was going to allow that to be a thing.
Never.
So no. And Rojas had, I think we sort of get with the guy like Rojas, who tends to become a cult hero because he's a bench guy and sort of the underdog, and he does what he did early in the season. We tend to like just hold on to that for a long time. But he's gone through, once he became a regular player, like he went through it. And I think we just didn't notice it as much because he just needed to be out there and all that stuff. But it's the best option right now. I don't know that it's the best option for the rest of the year. It creates some other issues, I guess what it does is hopefully once he's back, and maybe once he comes back, it allows them to use Kiermaier as like, all right, you're the black hole in that 8 spot, probably.
Oh, gosh. Like Kent said, Kiermaier. I hope he's on a couch somewhere when these games count.
That's fine, and I understand where you're coming from, but I cannot watch Andy Paz try to track down fly balls in center field.
Tommy Edman's playing center.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna, not that he's not gonna come back. I believe he's gonna come back, but like when I see it and he's doing it and he's producing, then I'll buy in.
Fair. Wait, you want to see the guy play in one game this season before you jump to conclusions about him, Anthony? Can we be reasonable? It is only the middle of August. Like, it's not like it's been 6. Oh, no, it actually 4.5 months he hasn't played. No, I'm with you. I think the interesting thing, right, is it's Rojas, exactly like you said. Like, he's the linchpin to this entire thing because Mookie moving to the outfield, I mean, and I suppose it still gives them some flexibility because of Edman, that if, let's say, Miguel Rojas, which, by the way, shout out to Matthew Moreno, who's in the chat running the Dodger Blue account, saying there is one member of our staff who believed in Miguel Rojas. Matt Moreno believed in Miguel Rojas. I'm not entirely sure it wasn't a bit.
I need the receipts that said where Matt said that Miguel Rojas should be an everyday player.
Well, he was buying Miguel Rojas. I'm not positive it wasn't a bit. I'm not positive that, like, just like he loves Austin Barnes, that's not a bit. But he does have receipts saying he said it, so I'll give him that credit.
Okay.
But I think what Edman does is basically the path forward. Option 1A is clearly Miguel Rojas continues to hit, gives you elite defense and shortstop. Tommy Edman comes back, gives you at least league average offense while playing solid defense in center. Mookie Betts, elite offense, solid defense in right field. And all of a sudden, like, we're not discussing Kevin Kiermaier and Jason Hayward and these types of players. Like, it's just like, we don't need you anymore. Thank you for being here. Maybe keep your glove, stay on the bench, but that kind of thing. Now, if Miguel Rojas were to slip, then Edman can move in. And then you've got the outfield position figured that opens up. And I've said all along, is there a world where Mookie Betts ends up sliding over to center field? Because nobody wants Andy Pages out there. And Andy Pages, I still believe, is going to be one of the best options as a bat if you get there at some point. And so it's interesting, but I think at least what the Dodgers have done, Anthony, is they've committed. Option 1A is Rojas at short, Edman in center, Mookie at right. And you've got a month and a half to sort of let that runway roll out.
Is it a commitment when you've committed to the guy at 3 different positions in one season?
Yeah, utility guy,
$365 million utility man. Sure.
Hey.
You know what? He can do it. Look, I don't mean to poop on this, only. It is the right move right now.
Yeah.
I just, for everyone saying finally, for me, it wasn't finally. I was not like, I didn't have the picket sign out that said, Mookie for right field. Because I understood what it was going to take to get him there. Now, let's say we go 4 weeks from now. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but you're not getting any production in center field.
Okay.
You're not getting any production from the carousel between like Rojas, Rosario. Maybe Lux cools down a bit. I kind of think Lux has some sustainability here with what he's found. I do. So maybe, you don't have to move him off. But like, if you suddenly have those holes in the lineup, then you're sort of back in the same position you were in.
Yeah.
You do get a bit better defense in the infield, sure. But again, Mookie wasn't a butcher at short. Because he's a new guy, because he's a superstar, the errors stick out just like the good stuff for Rojas sticks out in our memories.
Yeah.
The bad for Mookie sticks out for us. He was not killing you. Like, look at the numbers defensively. He wasn't killing you. He wasn't great. He wasn't necessarily like, a second tier defensive shortstop even, but he wasn't killing you.
Yeah.
He was fine. He's better in right field. Sure. But it wasn't like they were losing a bunch of games because Mookie Betts could not play defense at shortstop.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I don't think it's a Mookie thing as much as kind of what moving him to the outfield. It's the Miguel Rojas versus Jason Hayward.
I agree.
Debate.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. It's not a 1-for-1 necessarily. You got to have some moving pieces to go with it. Again, I think this is the right move right now. I don't disagree with this call in the now. I hope everything stays as is, because then it can play out. I just hope it doesn't create problems elsewhere, because it feels like right now they don't, with all the injuries. And again, this is why this is all happening, I think.
Yeah.
It feels like you're just moving him from one hole to plug another, and then you're trying to hope that these other guys have enough to fill this other one that he's just vacated.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that you got to worry about up the middle of the diamond. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? And so it's almost a little bit of musical chairs and just trying to see where they fit on the deck. But as of now, this is the best option for them for sure.
And I think, two things I'll say, and then we'll close out. There's a couple more quotes I want to get to. The first is, I think if there's one thing you kind of can hang your hat on with all the potential questions that exist, I think Miguel Rojas's defense at shortstop at least is like, there's not really questions there. It's not, we'll see if the bat, we'll see if there's nothing, we'll see if. At the very least, Miguel Rojas is going to give you elite defense at arguably the most important position defensively on the field. So I think that's like one, like, we're taking a question off of the table.
Yeah.
What I do think, and what this is going to be so fascinating, reports are Tommy Edman's going to be back in about a week. Max Muncy due back in about a week. Mookie Betts, I believe, will be back Monday. Walker Buehler expected back against the Brewers. Tommy Edman's going to be such a fascinating guy to watch, because he is in many ways the missing piece that is going to connect all these things. If Tommy Edman can play competent defense in center field, which Andy Pages has set the bar very low, so that's the good news for Tommy Edman. If he could play competent defense in center field and just be league average offensively, which he's had years where he's much better than that, but just be league average offensively, then all of a sudden I think every piece settles into place. You feel good about Mookie and right. You feel good about Edman in center. You feel good about Teo in left. You feel good about Freeman. You feel good about Lux. You feel good about Rojas, and you feel good about Muncy. Edman's the key, because if Edman somehow flops, either defensively or offensively, then all of a sudden center field remains the one place you don't have solid answers. And then it's, well, do we move Mookie over to center now? Because that's where the hole is, and he's our best option there. Do we put a guy like Kiermaier out there, who's maybe the worst offensive player in baseball right now and probably overrated defensively, in my opinion? Then all of a sudden you've got questions there aren't obvious that there aren't obvious answers to. So I think Edman becomes the guy that all eyes focus on as far as I'm concerned. Because again, Rojas, even if the bat regresses a little bit, you'll take it because you know what you're getting defensively. Edman's the key, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is the linchpin in this. I also think we are projecting out, which is all we can do. We're projecting out that everyone's healthy too.
Yep. And why would you not, Anthony? What has made you believe that that's a bad idea? I don't understand.
With the injury luck this team's had, there's nothing to worry about.
They're due,
But it takes like a Lux or a Rojas to pull something, and even if they're just out
don't even speak it. Don't even speak it, Anthony. Nothing's happening.
Well, and I don't mean to keep playing devil's advocate. I do, but I don't want to. But one, this team's track record with injuries is just absolutely horrid. But also, continuing to move guys around like this is just like, I get it and I get the needs. But like I said, it everything almost feels temporary.
Yeah.
And like for a guy like Mookie, like that's a big deal. Like you want to move a guy who's like position on this team is to move around a bunch, then cool. But like, let's figure this out with the guy and then not move him again. And moving him to right field to plug that hole means everything has to go swimmingly with the guys at short and the guys at second.
Yeah. The good news is, I think on that front, is that Mookie's the one asking for this. I think Mookie is saying, guys, I actually am more comfortable. Like, you're not moving me out of a place of comfort to discomfort. You're actually putting me back into a place in right field that he's more comfortable. Those are his words. That he's more comfortable.
This feels
in right
to me like Russell Westbrook came in and asked us to come off the bench.
So it's meaning what? You don't think Mookie actually said that?
I think, well, first I saw that it was a mutual decision.
So here was the quote from Mookie. I would say I mostly went to them and said, listen, I believe I can do it, referring to shortstop, but I want to win. I want to win. I don't know if me right there at shortstop is the best solution. This is Dave's quote. It wasn't something that was difficult or me pushing him there. It was like, what's best for the team? This is essentially kind of me reading the room, me and him talking. Bro, Betts, again, I just want to win, bro. I genuinely don't care. I could have said that, but that would have not been very smart. That would have been a smart thing, a very selfish thing. The challenge of going out there and working, you see how much I love to work. I'm out there every day. I love that part. I really love that part. But also you got to be real with yourself and the team, and you have to do what's best. To me, that sounds like a guy that basically said, I think I'm going to give this team the best chance to win in right field.
That's how like a guy who's bought in to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like a guy who's bought into it. It's not like they're moving it's not that like they're moving him to center. They're moving him to a position where he's played for most of his major league career. He's won Gold Gloves there. Fine. Yeah. What I'm saying is I'm not fully sold that he just walked into Dave's office and went, I should move to right field. That sounds what it sounds like to me. And I know what he said. I get it. It's fine. I've also been in these clubhouses. I've also been in PR.
Yeah.
So like, I know how this goes too on both ends. Because them calling it first, there was a bunch of quotes out there first that called it a mutual decision. Whenever I see a mutual decision, that rarely means the player comes to the organization first. Usually what that means is the organization says, hey man, we think this is probably best. And the player goes, okay, that's fine. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I just read it as, hey, he's going to play shortstop 3 days ago. And what changed in the last 3 days? I think Mookie came to Dave Roberts in the last 3 days and said, hey, Dave, I know you said shortstop. And again, this is like part of it is
with this front office and all of the P's and Q's that they check over, them missing on Mookie should be our right fielder doesn't like it's just, I think there's more to this than what was just said today. I think more went into it than just Mookie going to them and saying, I want to go back to right field. That's all I'm saying. I'm not being conspiracy theorist here. I'm just saying I do not think it was just that. I think it was probably a conversation and them saying, we're trying to figure this out. We're thinking about this. And Mookie was like, I'll play right field.
Yeah.
That's cool with me. And then that turned into like it was his call.
Yeah. And again, even that is semantics, because even if that's how it's played out, I still think it's fair to interpret it as say, hey, I'll play right field is sort of him doing this thing and volunteering to do this thing, which maybe we're agreeing on that part.
Yeah. It's selfless because he's been moved around a bunch in spring training. Like first, he was their everyday second baseman. Then he was their everyday shortstop. And then they committed to him again. They doubled down on him.
Yeah.
And then they tripled down on it this last week and said, when he comes back, he's our shortstop. And then now it's changed. So I'm not saying that he's going kicking and screaming and I don't, that I don't believe any of this. Look, I think that he's fine with going back. I'm just saying like there's more to how this decision played out than Mookie just saying, I want to go back to right field. I think that's what's best for the team. And then we all laud him for being this selfless player, which he is. But again, I don't think it was that kind of fairy tale happening.
Laura with the super chat here. And I know we got another super chat from a few minutes ago we're going to get to. She said that quote sound like quote was made for optics. I don't believe it. This is what was decided would be said. It's possible. And again, this is the part of the Mookie quote that gets me. I would say I mostly went to them and I said, listen, I believe I can do it, referring to playing shortstop, but I want to win. I believe I can do it, but I want to win. Again, this could all be PR, nonsense, BS, blowing smoke. To me, this sounds like a guy that went into Dave Roberts' office and said, I'm going to be better for this team in right field than I am at shortstop.
Also like a lot of it is here's the timeline, right? 3 days ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, they go, he's our shortstop. He is our shortstop. We're not coming off of him because there were questions about that
although there were quotes that said like we could still kick him out to the outfield because Matt and I talked about that the other night. Like that was part of that quote. I think
they left that door open.
The shortstop thing was sort of taken out of context. Like it was, he's going to play shortstop, but this also gives us flexibility and we can kick him out to the outfield later if we want to. Like that's in the quote if we go back.
Yeah, sure. But the one definitive that we had there was the day he comes back, he's playing short.
Yeah.
We did have that.
Sure.
And so we get that. And then today we get he's going to play right field. And we have Mookie saying what he said. Then we have Dave also leaving the door open. And it's just like, I agree with Laura here that I think when you make these statements like this and then it changes, it sues everything over for guys like Jeff. When the player who you're moving around comes out and says, this was my call.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I believe Mookie Betts quotes more than Dave Roberts.
The entire conversation when the player says that.
Yeah.
Because if he would have said, hey, that's what they want. That's what is best for the team. I'm going to do it. This whole show would have been about is Mookie happy or not?
I just believe Mookie Betts more than I believe Dave Roberts when they stand in front of a camera. Like I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it there. Another super chat. This from Larry going a different direction. If we sign Bryce Harper in 2019 instead of Mookie the following year, could Bryce's fiery personality have led LA to more postseason success? What do you think, Anthony?
I think if you think Mookie's not fiery, I got some news for you. On that one. But I think I understand what Larry's asking. Like Bryce is like yell, scream on the field, right? Like I get it, hair flying and eye black running down his face. Everybody's interpretation of what that means, what fiery means is a little bit different, but Mookie's had some postseason struggles. Like it's just more about like can these guys hit? Or can they pitch? Or can the bullpen get outs? Bryce Harper isn't. He's not going to come in high leverage situations and get you 5 outs in the postseason. Like they had other issues aside from like, we were missing a Bryce Harper type to put us over. They've got all-star Hall of Fame caliber players on that roster. And it's shaking out how it's shaking out. I mean, we've all watched it. No need to rehash that. And baseball's not like basketball, right? Or like a dominant quarterback or like a dominant pass rusher or linebacker or something like that, where they can really change the complexion of a team's chemistry and a team's makeup. Baseball's a little different because it's an individual sport wrapped in a team sport.
Yeah.
And so it's different. And Harper, a guy like Harper, a guy like Mookie, Shohei, whoever, they get four chances a game to really make a difference. And if you succeed 30% of the time here, you're an all-time great. Yeah. So to answer the question, I don't think so. Would he have helped? Sure. I would, give us Bryce Harper, but also not at the, for me personally, not at the expense of not having Mookie on the team. I would rather have Mookie Betts than Bryce Harper.
So Harper signed with Philly in 2019. Mookie came to the Dodgers in 2020. Since those two moves have been made, how many World Series have the Phillies won and how many World Series have the Dodgers won? It's 1-0. 1-0 is the answer.
Yeah.
And Mookie Betts, if you go back and look at the most iconic, significant moments of the 2020 World Series run, Mookie Betts is right in the middle of a bunch of them. You've got the home run where he's coming around first base with his head tilted back, screaming. You've got every catch that he made in right field that seemed to save games. So I understand, but to me, these are the types of things where there's so much lifting that has to be done to project, when the one thing we do know is that the Dodgers signed Mookie, traded for Mookie and signed him, and they won a World Series. The Phillies got Bryce Harper and haven't won anything, They've won the pennant, but Dodger fans, we all agree that the pennant means nothing. Doesn't mean Harper's to blame. I think it's impossible to answer this question. I would just suggest the fiery personality thing, just because it looks different doesn't mean it's not fire. And B is Mookie got one at least. So one World Series. If I told you when the Dodgers traded for Mookie Betts in 2020, that in 20, 21, 22, 23, in the first 4 seasons of that deal, the Dodgers were going to win one World Series, we all would have thrown up our hands and said, hallelujah. We'll take it. He just got it in 20, so it's been 3 years since then. We'll see how this one goes. Yeah. So we appreciate the super chat, Larry. It's a fun question to think about and to kick around. So we appreciate that. Let me give you a quote from Dave Roberts tonight, Anthony, and then we'll get to some questions. When asked about the National League West race, on the broadcast, they made a big deal about how the 2 best teams in baseball over the last month and a half are the Padres and the Diamondbacks. How the Giants are also, I believe, the 3rd best team in the National League, at least over the last few weeks. Dave Roberts was asked about the NL West race. Quote, "We are very aware of it. I'd be lying if I said no one is watching the scoreboard and appreciating how good the rest of the teams in our division are playing. So that just puts the onus on us to play good baseball." What are your thoughts on that? We're aware of the race. I'd be lying if I said nobody was paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, it would be silly of him to say, no, we're not even what they're only 2 games out. No, that'd be dumb. I think it's fine. It's a clubhouse full of veterans. These guys know. And it would be dumb of them to manage as if they had a 12-game lead right now.
Yeah.
Also, there's that part of it too. You're about to play really meaningful baseball in the last month and a half of the season. Because these teams have gotten so hot and you sort of just kind of meandered about, for a while as the leader. So no, you have to know. You don't play games and without knowing the score, because it dictates what your strategy is.
Yeah.
And so, if it's 2-game, if it's a 2-game lead with 12 games to go in the season, you're going to play those 12 games a little differently strategy wise than you would if you had, if you had the 12-game lead at that point. I think it's fine for him to say that. I was thinking about this the other day, they've just cruised into the postseason so many times in recent past, and they flamed out. And look, don't get me wrong. I would rather win the division by 20 games every season and coast into the postseason and set your rotations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But sure, there is something to be said about playing competitive, high leverage, high intensity, make or break baseball, in the 10 days leading into the playoffs. There's something to that, sure. And maybe this is the year where the Dodgers do not get to let off that gas and they have to keep it pumped, through the end of September. And maybe it makes a difference in October. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just glad Dave Roberts said the thing out loud that is obviously true to all of the rest of us. Of course, they're paying attention. The idea that they wouldn't be is crazy. It is worth noting. We joked on our show Wednesday. We were talking about NL West odds. The Padres were plus 650 to win the NL West. That number has already come down to plus 400. So if you placed a bet a couple days ago, they're already offering you more money for that ticket back than when you paid just 2 days ago. So the Padres remain hot. But, Dodgers keep pace with a win tonight. So big one for the Dodgers. Let's get to some questions here, and then we'll close out a little bit early tonight. As always, we appreciate everybody joining us live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, those listening after the fact. Again, this is available on podcast, Apple, Spotify, and Google. Of course, if you're new here, please subscribe, ring the notification bell here on the YouTube page. We're going live 5 to 6 nights a week, as well as some morning content, unique interviews, all that sort of stuff. So we appreciate that. Here we go. David says, Jeff Nostradamus Spiegel called the Mookie Betts move to the outfield. What's your next prediction, Jeff? I joked, Anthony, to some friends. I'm terrible at predictions. The two things I've gotten right in the last 2 years were I predicted Mookie Betts to shortstop, and then I predicted Mookie Betts back to the outfield. So maybe I guess my third one is I'm predicting Mookie Betts to center field, Anthony. We're just going to keep moving around the diamond. I'm going to stick to my lane. My lane is Mookie Betts defensive predictions. So give me Mookie Betts to center field. That's my next prediction. How do you feel?
This season?
Yes. Playing postseason games in center field. I'll throw a bold prediction at you, unprovoked here, Anthony.
All right. Mookie Betts to center and then LDS. All right.
There you go. I said sometime in the playoffs. Might be the World Series. Who knows? We got a few rounds to figure it out. Bryce wants to know, how big does the 4-game set against Arizona become at the end of August? Let me rephrase this slightly. Are you worried about Arizona or just San Diego?
I'm not really worried about either one.
Wow, let's go. Love that confidence.
Yeah, I'm not really worried
Vegas.
about either
Heavy
team.
favorites. Dodgers heavy favorites to win the NL West still.
Yeah, I think they win this division by probably 5 games.
Wow, love that.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's, could be wrong, but I have the confidence in this team, especially as they get healthier. And those teams, I don't have confidence in either of those teams to stay red hot for 2 months. So, yeah, I think they come back down to earth a bit. The Dodgers get a bit healthier. They get a bit more consistent, and they probably win this thing by a handful of games. I'm not too concerned with them. But to answer the question, because it's the end of August and, there's still going to be a month to go in the season, I think that ends up playing in the headlines like it's a massive series, because I think they'll be still close enough that, like, let's say they'll probably be close enough that if Arizona were to sweep that series, they could tie for first place at worst.
Excuse me. Obviously, if a team like the Diamondbacks comes to town, they're 3.5 games out of the division with a 4-game set. That's a big deal. Personally, I think there's still a gap between the Padres and the Diamondbacks. And so the Padres are far more concerning for me than the Diamondbacks are.
They're a better team, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Just talent-wise. Like, I look at what the Padres are doing, and it feels sustainable. So, apologies to everybody who's saying my mic wasn't working. Yep, I was muted. My bad. Had a cough the last couple of days. Muted the mic to protect the cough. And then it was an incredible take. Everything I said right before I unmuted was like unbelievable stuff. Just stream of consciousness stuff. So apologies to everybody who missed that. But yes, good stuff there coming with the Dodgers and Diamondbacks at the end of the month. A couple more questions here. Darren says, in my opinion, this rough patch is only helping the Dodgers with trying to figure out how to win games versus coasting to the playoffs and getting smacked around. Would you two agree? Do you agree, Anthony? I mean, we kind of have touched on this. Do you think this little threat in the middle of August is actually going to awaken something in the Dodgers? Iron sharpens iron type stuff moving forward?
Sure. I think it doesn't hurt, in my opinion, aside from a team that has been this hurt, especially in the rotation, and this taxed in the bullpen. I
Yeah.
would really like them to get some
Yeah.
breather
It's a great point.
going into the playoffs. And maybe that happens because they're not, maybe if they win the division, they're not a wild card team. Maybe they get it there. Then okay, cool. There's a bunch of veterans on this team though. So I don't necessarily think that like Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts or Will Smith, guys who've been through it. I won't throw Shohei in there because he used to play for the Angels. But those guys, they've been through it. They kind of know.
Yeah.
But sure, for some of the less experienced players who are playing a big role on this team, yeah, this can help them to get a taste of that atmosphere before it actually hits. Sure. Again, I would always take the rest and being able to set your rotation versus like, we played, do or die games in the last week of the season. We had to win the division. I would always take the rest over that part of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's both and, but I actually agree with Darren. Sort of, if I had to choose a side, I like that this is going to force the Dodgers, create some urgency. To your point, River Ryan's going to be pitching in some games that matter. Gavin Stone's going to be pitching in some games that matter. You can't simulate the playoffs, but at least they're going to get 60, 70% of the way there. And who knows, the momentum piece of this, the sort of consistency of playing consistently and not being like, well, I need to play not to get injured type of stuff. I just need to play my best. I do think there's going to be some value in that for the Dodgers.
I also though think that like it can work the other way too, where like if you're playing do or die type games and you have a guy like, let's say River Ryan, since that was the example, his leash becomes a little shorter.
Yeah.
And you don't let him have the experience of like trying to, figure things out and work his way out of things. And because, hey, we got to win this game. So, you're out after 4 1/3 because the first 2 guys got on or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Aaron wants to know, Anthony, Jeff, if the season ended today, who are your 13 pitchers on the playoff roster? I don't know if we're assuming Yamamoto is back in this scenario or is not. I guess we'll say no because the season ended today. He's not back today. So you've got Glass now. You've got Flaherty. You got 2 starting pitchers anchored into place. Give me 3 and 4. You've got options I'll throw out. Gavin Stone is an option. River Ryan is an option. Clayton Kershaw is an option. Walker Buehler sounds like he's an option, expected to come back. Landon Knack is an option. Justin Robleski is an option.
Yeah.
Bullpen game is an option if you want to go 3 starters and an extra bullpen arm. So give me how you fill out the rotation if Yamamoto is not available and Glasnow and Flaherty are spots 1 and 2. Who's your third pitcher?
Glasnow, Flaherty, Kershaw, bullpen.
Wow. Okay. I think River Ryan is earning his way towards an opportunity, and I would
think so too, but not.
And it might be. It's like a hybrid. Like I think he's going to get 3 or 4 innings. It's not a full bullpen game, but it's going to be like prepare for a bullpen game and give River Ryan 3 innings.
And I let me clarify. When I say bullpen game, I mean a piggyback start.
Yeah, piggyback start. Okay, so I'm with you today. If it ended, I think Stone struggles over the last month and a half. I'll take Kershaw. I think River Ryan is in there for me. So I would have those 4.
Yeah, I think they give him the ball. In that piggyback game, like, hey, go as hard as you can for 3-4 innings, and then we'll bring in, whoever that next guy. Maybe it's Robleski. I don't know.
And to be clear on Kershaw, I'm not overreacting to one start as much as this is probably more of a reflection of where I'm at with Gavin Stone right now than a positive reflection on where I am with Kershaw.
For sure, same.
And Buehler, I'm not there yet. Although nice little start for our guy Walker Buehler in AAA. Okay, so we got 4. We got so River Ryan are like you said 3 starters in a bullpen game. Do you want River Ryan?
Game. So a piggyback game meaning 2 of those left out starters from the first 3 spots can piggyback into the 4th game.
Okay, so you've got 3 guys so far. So give me the 2 piggyback arms that you're talking in the bullpen, and then we'll run through some of these bullpen arms.
I think River Ryan, I don't know who would start and who wouldn't, but probably River Ryan and either Gavin Stone or Robleski.
Yeah, because Ryan is a righty, Robleski is a lefty, so that could be a nice little combo. Okay, so you've got those 5. I've got 4. Here's some relievers to throw at. Banda has to be on that. roster. So there's one. Hudson's got to be on that roster.
Mm-hmm.
Kopech's got to be on that roster.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Phillips has got to be on that roster. Alex Vesey has got to be on that roster.
Yes.
So there's 5 more.
And no Trinan, right? Because he's hurt.
So under the rules we've got, there's 5. So there's 5 guys. I've got 9. You've got 10 because you've got Robleski basically is the one difference. So now we need 4 more pitchers. I'm with you on Robleski. I've said all along I think Robleski is a weapon in the postseason. So Robleski gets spot number 10. So then we got 3 more spots. Some guys that are currently up that we haven't talked about would be Grove, Honeywell, Kelly, Gavin Stone, Landon Knack. Those are kind of guys on the roster. I mean, if you wanted to stretch this a little bit, I guess you could say, Ryan Brazier's maybe about to be back. But I feel like, as I think Bobby Miller, I think I'm going to go, I'm going to go Bobby Miller. I just think there's a chance he's a bullpen guy. So give me Bobby Miller as one of my 3.
I would, let me say this. If season ends and they're figuring all this out and they went with Bobby Miller in the bullpen and they were like, we think he can give us anywhere from 3 to 6 outs in a need situation, I'd be sign me up. I would want to see that.
Yeah.
I would want to see that.
So give me Bobby Miller. I think Joe Kelly's on this, whether we believe Joe Kelly is good or not. He's going to be in that group.
He's for sure on it. Yeah.
So then it basically comes down to Grove or Honeywell or wild card, as in, Walker Buehler as a reliever, Landon Knack as a reliever. So those would be the choices. I think I'll say Grove. I just think the swing and miss stuff that Grove has potentially, he's shown flashes of. I guess Brazier could be another guy. So who would you take out of that group if you had Grove, Honeywell, Brazier?
I think if the season ended today, I would take Honeywell.
Okay, that's fair. We've only seen Grove once.
Yeah, because then I would just go, we are going to work out Knack and Grove, and they're going to throw bullpens and because you can reset your roster if you win that round, right? So yeah, I would go Honeywell.
And I think to the the admin that's running Dodger Blue right now, it might be Blake. I can't tell if it's Blake or Matt. I think it's Matt, but who knows? I think Grove versus Honeywell is like who's the wear it guy? Who's like the 4-inning reliever that we either hand the ball to in the 10th inning and say, hey, we just need you to keep pitching till this game ends, or they're down by 7 and it's like, yeah, you need to just eat this. There we go. We just got a yes. So I think Grove versus Honeywell is an interesting conversation, and I suppose Landon Knack, a starter, could get thrown in there as well. But I think it's going to be one of those guys, kind of as your wear it guy, basically long relief. So that's a good point. So there you go, Aaron. Great question. Let's get to another one. Ederico asked, who's the center fielder going forward beyond this year? Pages and Outman have both struggled. Do you think the Ohtani two-way plan is sustainable? His body might wear down much quicker if they do this. My guess on Ohtani is pitching and DH. Like, I don't know how much that they're going to expect him to play the field. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I would not put him out there.
And because they've kind of cleared out that designated hitter spot.
Yeah. The money wasn't for the money they gave him wasn't so he can play right field.
Yeah.
It was so he could be on the bump and hit. So I think now it's a nice luxury to say Freddie, we're going to give you a couple days here. You'll be off one day, you'll DH another day. And one of those days, Shohei will play first base, or, hey, if Mookie's in right field next year, hey, Mookie, you'll DH today, give your legs a break. We're going to throw Shohei out there. I could see that on occasion, but their big concern is just him making starts. And so no need for him to be risking anything, as small as the risks might be.
Yeah. Don't
risk anything by trying to run him out in the field.
He also doesn't solve the center field problem, which is kind of the question that's being asked.
Right.
Pages can't play center field.
He cannot play center field.
I think if we're talking about center field specifically, Outman at least has shown he can play the defense. Now, there's a reason for loads of skepticism of if he can hit, but I just am crossing Pages off immediately because he's just simply not an option in center field any more than Gavin Lux is an option in center field.
Right.
So the short answer is the Dodgers don't have an answer here. Now, I think Tommy Edman's under team control for one more year.
Yeah.
So if you believe he's the center fielder, then there you got that. You also
maybe
kind of
Outman,
potentially, Edman's also the backup plan at shortstop. So I think Edman next year is either your shortstop or your center fielder, but the other one has a massive hole because Rojas isn't the long-term answer. We know that for sure.
Sure. And maybe Outman bounces back.
Yeah.
And maybe
I would bet on Outman bouncing back offensively 1,000 times more than I would bet on Pages ever figuring it out defensively out there.
For this question, for me, Pages isn't even an option.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And Outman is probably my first option.
Yeah.
Like, I think, they go to the playoffs. Like, let's say things essentially play out as they've been right now.
Yeah.
Go into next season, given some of their other needs, probably starting pitching, they may try to re-sign Teo, all of that stuff. I think they give Outman another shot in center field to win the job outright.
Yeah.
I would think that's what would happen to start next season. If Hernandez signs somewhere else, if they decide we're not going to touch Flaherty, we're not going to sign any other starters either, however they work all that out, then maybe they go after a center fielder. I'm not even sure who in center field is available, right now.
We're going to trade for Bo Bichette in the offseason. He's going to play short. Edman's going to play center. We got it all figured out, Anthony.
There you go. But yeah, I think Outman is probably the option one because he's cheap. They know he can man the position defensively, and they've seen him be good with the bat at the major league level. And it's just a matter of can he bounce back.
Yeah, let's do a couple rapid fire ones. Laura, what are the odds we re-sign Teoscar Hernandez? Give me a percentage, Anthony.
75-25. I think he really likes it here.
Yeah. I'd almost go 80 to 85%. They're going to offer him the qualifying offer, which is going to make him way less attractive to other teams and give them an opportunity to negotiate. So I think it's very high, especially because we just explained the Dodgers have basically no answers in the outfield. Couple more questions. Yang Yi wants to know, will Rushing be playing left field in 2025 or even sometime this year? I think there's a non-zero chance he's playing left field this season for the Dodgers.
I think that's correct. Another reason I would really like them to pull away in this division and give that, we talked about River Ryan having that leash. I think they want to see Rushing out there too. And if these games are like must wins, I don't necessarily know if they put him out there. I think they really do want to see what he can do at the major league level as a left fielder. Them building some cushion here coming up is key to that happening.
Okay, so I'm not trying to rehash everything here. If Rushing came up, and we know that everybody believes the bat is going to translate. Let's say he's tolerable, above Andy Pages in center field level defender in left field.
Okay.
If you had to choose between Mookie Betts playing center field with Tommy Edman playing shortstop, or Mookie Betts playing shortstop with Tommy Edman playing center field, which is what would have to, that's kind of the decision you'd be making if Rushing were to come up. Which one would you prefer?
I honestly can't ever say I've seen Edman play shortstop. I don't know how good he is or isn't.
He's above average. He's graded out above average at shortstop.
Okay. He's just been so off of my radar. Even when they traded for him, I was just like, okay.
Totally fair. But he is like, he's one of the guys we looked up. When every position he has played at the major league level, he has played it at an above average level.
Yeah, he's a great athlete. Yeah, he's a great athlete. I would say, I think I would rather have him in center field, Edman.
Okay, and Mookie at short.
I think that, I just think that he probably gives you a little bit more and allows you to have Rushing out there. And Mookie has played shortstop this season and has been serviceable.
Yeah. I was trying to look up outs above average for Edman. So he played 400 innings of shortstop last year and was 4 outs above average at shortstop. In center field, he played 310 innings last season and was 5 outs above average. So those are both, I mean, in small sample sizes, pretty high-end stuff from Tommy.
I would rather, I think I would opt for him in center field. And a big reason for that is because Mookie has been your shortstop this season and just just move him back if that's what's necessary.
Noisy Ninja, is there any worry Mookie's going to be rusty at right since he hasn't played since last season, or that the speed won't be there? I think the speed not be like, he is definitely not the athlete he was 5 years ago. Like, I'm not claiming him as, a Gold Glove right fielder. Like, I think he's capable of being very good out there. He's not elite in right field anymore. I don't think he's going to be rusty. I think those are different things. I think the athleticism is diminished. I don't think in 12 months Mookie Betts is going to have forgotten how to play right field. I think there's going to be some reps that he needs to get. We've seen the video of him already taking some ground balls and fly balls out in right field, but I'm not worried about rust. I think it is fair to worry about a diminished athleticism.
I see it the other way.
Okay.
I think there's it's not a worry, but I think there could be some rust. Look, he hasn't had that slicing line drive coming at him from that height at that angle in a long time. And it's different off of a game simulation bat than it is a fungo. Or I'm sorry, it's different off of a game ball than it is off of a fungo. He may misplay one or two or take a step back versus a step in or whatever. I think him playing short this year and then having some time off saved his legs a bit.
Yeah.
I think he'll be fine in terms of moving around and running balls down and his arm and all that stuff. You were comparing him to 5 years ago. Sure. Yeah. Everybody. Nobody is who they were 5 years ago. But who could he be the right fielder he was last year? Yeah. But it just might take him a dozen fly balls. And, in that dozen, you might get 2 or 3 where you're like, ugh. Okay. Yeah. He's getting his sea legs still out there.
Yeah. I mentioned outs above average. Last year, Mookie Betts was -1 outs above average in right field, 700 innings. So, he was 4 in 2022 for some context. So, it is what it is. In center field, by the way, 212 innings, 2 outs above average. Defensive stats are dumb. So let me just, that makes me smile and laugh because of all the things I've been saying over the last hour of this show. I don't believe any of it. I want to be clear. Like, I don't believe Mookie is a below average defender in right field and like a very above average defender in center field. It's just funny that that's what the numbers say. So there you go. Defensive runs saved, 0 in center field last year and 3 in right field. So there you go. Outs above average, defensive runs saved. Say the exact opposite thing for Mookie Betts last year. So there you go.
He'll be fine.
Hey, yeah, he'll be fine. Exactly right. That is Anthony Witrado. I am Jeff Spiegel. Hey, folks, as always, we appreciate you joining us. Good news. Happy Friday. The Dodgers won. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Paul Skeens, River Ryan tomorrow. Going to be a fun one. Check out DodgerBlue.com for a game preview. All of the follow-up content on that Dodger Blue YouTube page has post-game interviews and all that sort of stuff. So make sure you grab that as well. Anthony, I am Jeff. Enjoy the rest of your night. And as always, go Dodgers.